Have you ever looked at your bank account and felt confused by it? Not shocked, not panicked, just confused. You're paying your bills. You're working hard. You're not doing anything reckless. And yet, somehow, year after year, your life doesn't feel more secure. It doesn't feel lighter. It doesn't feel like it's opening up. Nothing went obviously wrong. And that's what makes it uncomfortable. Because the problem usually isn't one big mistake. It's the small, quiet decisions you barely notice while you're making them. My name is Alex. I spend a lot of time thinking about how everyday money decisions quietly shape our future, long before we ever feel the consequences. Most of these decisions don't look dangerous in the moment. They feel reasonable, invisible even, and because of that, we rarely question them. If you find yourself thinking about money in this quieter, more reflective way, you might want to subscribe. And with that in mind, let's talk about the spending decisions that slowly decide where your life ends up. Most people think their financial future will be shaped by big moments: a promotion, a market crash, buying a house, making a bad investment. Those things matter, but they're not what usually decides the outcome. What actually shapes your future are the decisions that feel too small to worry about. The defaults you accept, the conveniences you pay for without thinking, the choices you repeat so often they stop feeling like choices at all. We tend to focus on income because income feels measurable. It shows up on paper. It's easy to compare. But spending decisions are psychological. They're emotional. They're tied to comfort, identity, and relief. And because of that, they operate quietly, under the surface. Most people don't get into financial trouble because they're irresponsible. They get there because their money slowly drifts in directions they never consciously chose. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your future isn't shaped by what you can afford once. It's shaped by what you normalize. The first time you pay for convenience, it feels like a one-off. Ordering food instead of cooking. Upgrading a subscription, choosing the closer option instead of the cheaper one. Individually, these decisions don't matter much, but psychologically, something important happens. Your baseline shifts. What once felt optional starts to feel necessary. What once felt indulgent starts to feel normal. And what once felt normal starts to feel uncomfortable to give up. This is how spending becomes invisible. Not because you don't see the transaction, but because you stop questioning it. Think about how often you hear someone say, "I don't really spend that much." They usually believe it. And most of the time, they're not lying. They're just adding up the wrong things. They remember the big purchases because those feel like decisions. They forget the small recurring ones because those feel like life. But life is exactly where the damage happens. One of the most powerful invisible forces in spending is what I call the comfort premium. The comfort premium is the extra money you pay to avoid inconvenience, discomfort, or effort, and it shows up everywhere. You pay more to live closer to work so you don't have to commute. You pay more for food that saves time. You pay more for services that remove friction from your day. Again, none of this is bad on its own. Comfort isn't the enemy. The problem is when comfort becomes non-negotiable. When every decision is filtered through what makes this easier right now, instead of what does this cost me long term. Over time, the comfort premium quietly eats the margin in your life. The margin that could have gone to savings, to flexibility, to options you don't even know you'll want yet. And the worst part is that comfort rarely makes you happier in the long run. It just makes discomfort feel louder when it returns. People often say they value time more than money, but their spending tells a different story. We treat time like it's precious in theory, but disposable in practice. And we treat money like it's abundant in small moments, but scarce in big ones. So we trade money for small time savings without noticing. $10 here, $20 there, a few hundred over the month. And because no single transaction feels painful, the total never feels real. But here's the part most people miss. Those small trades don't just cost money. They shape your expectations. You begin to expect life to be smooth, to be optimized, to require less effort. And when effort does show up, it feels unfair. So you spend again to remove it. This loop doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But it does make your future smaller if you never interrupt it. Another invisible spending decision is identity-based spending. This is when money quietly becomes a way of maintaining who you think you are, or who you feel you're supposed to be. The professional who needs to look the part, the parent who doesn't want their child to feel different, the adult who doesn't want to feel like they're falling behind. These purchases aren't about things. They're about belonging. And because belonging is emotional, we rarely run the numbers honestly. We tell ourselves we'll make it up later, that it's temporary, that it's just how life works at this stage. Sometimes that's true, but often those stages last longer than we expect. And by the time we realize it, the spending has hardened into lifestyle. Lifestyle has hardened into obligation, and obligation has removed our ability to change direction easily. The reason these spending decisions are so powerful is because they don't trigger alarm. There's no dramatic moment, no sudden drop, no obvious warning sign. Progress just slows. Savings don't grow the way you thought they would. Stress doesn't go away when income rises. Financial goals keep moving further out. And because nothing is clearly broken, you keep doing the same things. You assume the solution must be earning more. Sometimes that helps. Often it just raises the stakes. The shift happens when you stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking a different question. What future does this make more likely? Not in a dramatic way, not with guilt or restriction, just quietly. Every spending decision is a vote. Not for the life you want someday, but for the life you're reinforcing today. When you see spending this way, something changes. You don't feel deprived when you say no. You feel intentional. You don't feel guilty when you spend. You feel aware. And awareness is the real upgrade. This doesn't mean cutting everything enjoyable. It doesn't mean tracking every dollar obsessively. It means noticing patterns. Where are you paying for relief instead of value? Where are you spending to avoid short-term discomfort that could actually build resilience? Which expenses feel invisible because they've become part of your identity? You don't have to change everything at once. That rarely works. Start with one category, one habit, one recurring decision, not to eliminate it immediately, just to see it clearly. Clarity changes behavior on its own. Most people don't ruin their financial future with one bad decision. They quietly trade it away in small pieces, over time, without realizing what they're giving up. The good news is that this works both ways. Small, intentional choices compound too. Awareness compounds. Margin compounds. You don't need perfection. You don't need discipline all the time. You just need to see the invisible decisions for what they are. Because once you see them, they stop controlling you. And progress, real progress, starts to feel possible again.